some question too. One of the statements, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, somebody who actually has a copy of that might be able to clarify it. And I'm saying that is that I'm looking at Mr. Wilson, the current principal. He may be able to talk this, but there was a segment or statement made about administrative misguides, miscues, missteps, mistakes, and detailed the change in principals to have 3 principals in 5 years, to change out 80% of the faculty, to do various other things along those lines, and talk about the use of VAM scores. Charter School USA said that they believe that was an administrative mistake. It was wrong to do that. I have said a number of times, and I'll repeat it again for those who aren't tired of hearing me say it, those decisions were not made by the Escambia County School District, School Board, or District Administration. They were requirements that were sent to us from the Department of Education, which we had no choice but to comply. And so that's another thing that I just want to point that out for those who are listening or who will watch and see at a later date. And at this time, if it's all right with the superintendent, I would like to have Mr. Wilson come forward to talk about other things in that report from Charter Schools USA on their visits.
Thank you, Chairman Fetsko. Appreciate the opportunity to address and publicly respond. I did hope that this would not become a public document, but of course there was no stopping that once it starts being sent around. And I knew once it did become a public document, after listening to the report first and then later getting a copy, that I would have to publicly address some of the items that are in the report. I disagree with several findings or statements in the summary, but will only speak to the ones that upset me the most. To start, the summary states that staff wants consistent leadership at the school to form a foundation to build on in terms of culture and academic success. I'm aware of only 6 faculty members, my 2 assistant principals, and myself that I would consider interviewed. The summary points this out regarding personnel, which we already knew. 3 different principals have served the school over 7 years. In 2023-24, if the school remains open, there will be another leadership change. Well, from 2014-18, Reggie Lipnick, a talented administrator and well-respected colleague, was asked to step in and lead Warrington Middle School as principal. Warrington did not earn a C during that period, but there was significant improvement in climate and culture of the school. The state required a change in leadership, and the Rensselaerville Institute, or TRI, was contracted as external operator in 2018. The turnover in leadership is due to this being part of the requirement for the state to approve the turnaround option plan. I've said it before from this podium that I believe that Brent Brummett's 3 years of leading Warrington Middle School were unfairly judged by the state school board. In his first year as principal, 2018-19, the school earned a 40. They would have earned a C but for the tieback rule. In 2019-20, all of the progress monitoring data that Warrington Middle School projected to earn a solid C. Then at spring break, the pandemic shut everything down, including the state assessments. For the 2020-21 school year, Warrington Middle had approximately 350 students receiving instruction remotely, which we know was not successful, and Warrington Middle fell back to a 33. To form a foundation to build on in terms of culture and academic success requires not only stability in the leadership team, but also with the #1 single most important variable in determining student success, the teachers. Late in the summer, right before the start of the 2019-20 school year, VAM scores were released. The district was required to transfer 9 teachers out of Warrington Middle School. 7 of them were needs improvement. I wrote a dissertation requesting that 5 of the teachers who earned a rating of needs improvement be allowed to remain at Warrington Middle School. These 5 teachers just finished their first year of teaching, and they all desperately wanted to remain at Warrington Middle, and they love their students. The following is a direct quote from the reply I received from my state contact regarding my request to allow these 5 teachers to remain at the school. Quote, Warrington Middle School has one of the most precarious school grade histories in the entire state. We consider this to be a critical situation for the students at Warrington Middle School. We need to take all necessary measures to ensure equity for these students and confirm that they receive the highest quality instruction every day. The rule that requires only effective and highly effective teachers to be at Warrington Middle or any school in turnaround status does not accomplish what this rule intends for it to do. The major flaw of this rule is that it does nothing to ensure equity or guarantee high-quality instruction every day. The assumption is that when these teachers are transferred out of the school, they are replaced quickly with a teacher rated effective or highly effective. That does not happen. As we all know, we have been experiencing a teacher shortage for several years. What happens is they're replaced with another beginning teacher with no VAM rating, a teacher from another state with no VAM rating, or a substitute teacher. The rule has created constant turnover. An effective or highly effective VAM rating does not always ensure the highest quality instruction every day. In the summer of 2001, when I was appointed as principal of Warrington Middle, we were able to recruit several effective and highly effective teachers, and 6 have been with us for the last couple of years and are amazing. One of those that was recruited did not make it through the first 9 weeks. The other left at semester. It requires uniquely gifted individuals to successfully teach and build relationships with students that face issues related to poverty, trauma, and the lack of academic success. A VAM rating of effective or highly effective does not mean an individual will be successful in a school and turnaround. They must also be highly effective at building meaningful relationships with their students. Again, the state required a change in leadership and a new external operator for 2021-22 school year. In addition to the VAM requirement, the state required that 80% of the teachers staffed in subjects of math and ELA have to have at least 3 years of experience. This added another challenge to staffing an already difficult to staff school. A national search was conducted for the principal. None of the applicants either met the minimum qualifications for the turnaround principal, or the candidates that were submitted were not approved by the state. I felt called to serve, still do, and threw my name in to be considered and was ultimately approved. Approximately 40 new faculty and staff members were hired. As you said, Chairman, Learning Sciences International was contracted to be the external operator. The lead for LSI, who worked with the district and school for several months, quit just days before school started. Leadership, culture, systems, and teaching and learning are unacceptable and need significant improvement. I find this very interesting because I believe both of my assistant principals were being recruited for some type of leadership position. I felt like my possible interest in a leadership position was being assessed during a couple of discussions. I know for sure that a great interest in retaining many of the current teachers at Warrington Middle School for the charter school was definitely there. The school is academically, socially, physically, and emotionally failing students and the community. I mean, whatever. My teachers, my Rocket family, are academically, socially, physically, and emotionally failing their students. This is an unbelievable statement. There is no other way to put it than it's just absolutely wrong. We did not get the results we wanted on the state assessment in 2022, and were only able to move up from a 33 to a 37. I would not be here addressing Charter USA's summary of the current state of our school if we had earned a C. But I want to make it clear that the Rocket family that has been working in the mission field located on 450 South Old Quarryfield Road, known as Warrington Middle, for the last 2 years, and some for much longer, have not given up on our students and families, and we are still fighting the good fight. Our goal this year is that no one will be able to say that we did not finish strong. I have worked closely with the Bureau of School Improvement, BSI, with the Florida Department of Education for the last 10 years. I have really spent a lot of time with my BSI friends the last 2 years. We have had a scheduled visit with BSI once a week for almost every single week for the past 2 years. The agenda usually follows this pattern. We start by breaking into teams. We walk several classrooms. Next, we debrief on what we saw, strengths and opportunities. Based on our discussion with the BSI lead and specialist, representatives from the district school transformation office, district content specialist, school administration, and coaches, we developed specific action steps to be implemented and monitored by the school leadership team. Progress on the action steps is followed up on during the next scheduled visit. The summary of the current state of the school has several items under the educational delivery model that I just need more information on and clarification. The summary of the educational delivery model was said to have come from teacher observations. So how many classrooms visits were conducted? What dates and at what times were these observations conducted? Which teachers were observed? When a representative or representatives from Charter USA were on campus, I was with them 99.9% of the time. When we did not make the C, I refocused my personal goal this year to lead the students, our families, and the faculty and staff through whatever this transition brings. So I spent significant time with the on-the-ground Charter School USA representatives, and we had a lot of discussions. I do not recall debriefing about any classroom observations. The only time I remember seeing representatives from Charter USA doing classroom walkthroughs was when they participated in one of our scheduled BSI visits. If these observations that were reported did actually take place and occur, and the education delivery model was so unacceptable and needed a complete reset or upgrade, why did this never come up in a conversation? I will get through the remainder of what was reported to have been observed in the classrooms by Charter USA representative at Warrington Middle School, and I will just respond what I know to be true or false based on evidence from my own classroom walkthroughs, as well as the countless classroom visits with BSI and our own school transformation office. Most instruction observed was delivered as, quote, whole group, 75%. False. We have a very focused plan for small group interventions in ELA, math, science, and civics. Many classes have unstructured work time with little to no interactions with students. Teachers are on their phones in 50% of the classes when we observed. False. I might have said true for this one if it stated students were on their phones. Worksheets packets are the norm in most classes, with 6 to 8 sheets repeating the same skill being assigned with limited student-to-student interactions or collaboration. False. Our teachers have 2 days of planning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. One of these days, the planning is facilitated by district content specialists, school-based coaches, and/or one of the school administrators. This practice would never be a part of planning. put into a lesson plan, or is it being observed during instruction by school administration, the school transformation office staff, or on BSI visits? Project work exists in some classes, but it is unstructured. A lot of the value is put on the appearance of the product as opposed to the content. False. I don't even understand how you can make this conclusion from walking a classroom. Little or no data informed instruction, not observable in classes. False. Our teachers know their data and use their data. Lots of teachers pay teachers observed in classrooms, both on walls and as assignments or worksheets. False. This is just a ridiculous statement. During my time in continuous improvement, teacher pay teacher became a bad word. It's not, I've never seen it at Warrington. The school transformation office has not seen it, and BSI said they have never seen it. Textbooks are observed to drive the teaching and learning. False. The benchmarks drive the teaching and learning. If the standard being taught calls for a textbook in the TE, and it was determined in planning to be the resource that should be used, I sure hope I see the textbook drive the instruction during that observation. Like I stated earlier, I felt a calling to leave my district position and serve the students and teachers at Warrington Middle. It has not turned out the way I prayed for, and I understand that some things don't make sense until you look back in the rearview mirror. I know I have no regrets, and I have been blessed by this experience. Now, I have not been a fan of having our school turned over to a charter. I'll admit that. However, in late October, I began to change my mindset when meeting with several of the Charter School USA representatives. I felt that there was a genuine desire to make a difference in the lives of our students. I remember specifically someone from Charter USA saying in a meeting, "For this to be successful, we have to work together with the district departments and with the local school board. We must collaborate together as one team if this is going to work." Now, of course, I agree with that statement, but almost from the dismissal of that meeting in late October, from my perspective, the collaboration and communication has not been there from Charter USA. The representatives I developed a relationship with during their visits beginning on December 6, 2022, through their last day on campus, which was February 23rd, 2023. We were always cordial. Our discussions were positive in nature. So the in-depth assessment, you can see, was really less than 3 months. They, too, would express frustration during their visits with the lack of communication and delay in submitting a charter application to the district. It was expressed to me several times that the delay in making a decision regarding if Charter USA was in or out was negatively impacting their ability to recruit as many of the current teachers at Warrington Middle as possible for the charter. A request was made by one of the Charter USA representatives for Charter USA to be added to the form that the teachers were completing for HR regarding possible schools to be transferred to next year. We did not do that due to not having an actual contract with Charter USA. We still don't. But I wonder, does anybody else find it interesting that Charter USA was hoping to retain so many of our teachers that, quote, are academically, socially, physically, emotionally failing their students? They wanted to retain them because the fact is they're not. These teachers are the best of the best. Schools right now, this very day, are trying to convince some of them to join their team and not go to the schools where HR has already placed them. I believe as a district, we owe the students and families in the Warrington community an apology for how long this back and forth has gone on. These students and families should know on April 13th what will 2023-24 school year look like for them. They really deserve to know this many months ago. In Charter USA's summary of the current state of Warrington Middle School, and even in the letter of intent, the adjective unacceptable is used often. I believe this assessment submitted by Charter USA is unacceptable. I've gone into enough detail why I have come to this conclusion. I think we've been given a blueprint of how business with Charter USA will be conducted throughout this project and into the unforeseeable future. I do not like their definition of collaboration. I do not have a vote, but based on my personal experience and the gross misrepresentation of the current state of Warrington Middle School described in Charter USA's educational review, if I did have a vote, I have no doubt which button I would push. Thank you again for the opportunity to defend the reputation of my students, teachers, and leadership team. Go Rockets!